national security mission is equally as important. Anyone that wishes to do harm to our way of life and our citizens here or abroad will face the full wrath of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And if you seek to hide in any corner of this country or any corner of this planet, we will put on the world's largest manhunt and we will find you. And we will decide your end state, not you. We will uphold the Constitution. We will uphold ourselves to the Constitution.
Well, how about this? The Jeffrey Epstein client list sitting on the Attorney General Pam Bondi's desk right now. In an interview with Fox News, Bondi telling us that the documents related to the former Palm Beach pedophile's case are waiting to be reviewed. Bondi says that the president himself directed her to look at these documents. The former Florida Attorney General also teased plans to release those documents once they are reviewed. Epstein had a long list of powerful and prominent connections, including many over in Palm Beach. He's committed suicide back in 2019 inside the New York City prison while he was awaiting trial for trafficking charges.
He was on the plane, not only on the plane a couple times, multiple times. He traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein, and he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had.
Any idea what it is?
No idea on what it is. I can only speculate, but you mentioned the Epstein list. I'd imagine it's cases like that. It's intel cases that are very siloed, very secretive. And I'm sure there's probably even information regarding the FBI's own subversive measures against Americans, against American politicians, for instance. We learned over the last few days that the Oval Office was bugged, and they took out the Resolute desk to inspect it more. Who's doing that type of thing, Benny? It's going to be, if they're operating at all as they should be, it's going to be the FBI because they're the domestic agency. Now, is it beyond the CIA or NSA playing a role? No, not at all. Because I think all of these agencies at this point do not have the best interest of the American public in mind. That's something that the Trump administration is trying to change. But it's going to be an uphill battle, I believe, for the entire term.
All right, we have an FBI director, Kash Patel, getting 51 votes in a Senate-wide confirmation vote just a moment ago to 49 no's, which means that 2 Republican senators did not vote for him.
About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it, but the short story, but not who they are, says, you know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that. That he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know, but this person who's a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right? Swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions? Because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right? How do you know?
100%.
I mean,
let's get personal.
President Trump is expecting to name Kash Patel to also be the acting head of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. A source familiar with this matter confirming this with News Nation. What is the significance here?
Well, Kash Patel was a very controversial nominee, but nonetheless was successfully confirmed. He was controversial because he is considered not only a fervent Trump supporter, but someone who traffics in theories about the so-called deep state that critics would say are just flat-out conspiracy theories. Nonetheless, as I just said, he was confirmed. So having been confirmed as FBI director, I would expect there to be less pointed controversy about something else being added to his portfolio. In a sense, the pro and anti-Kash Patel cases have just been litigated, and the verdict from the Senate was in his favor.
President Trump and Elon Musk laying out just how important DOJ's cost-cutting measures are during part 2 of their exclusive interview with Sean Hannity.
I really want to emphasize to people that this is a very important point. If we don't solve the deficit, there won't be money for medical care. There won't be money for Social Security. We either solve the deficit, or all we'll be doing is paying debt. It's got to be solved, or there's no medical care, there's no Social Security, there's no nothing. It's got to be solved. It's not optional. America will go bankrupt if this is not done. That's why I'm here.
It's important for people to understand he's doing a big job. He's doing a very thankless job. It's really a thankless job. But he's helping us to save our country. Our country was in serious trouble, and I had to get the best guy.
Today, senior White House staff gave a quick recap.
The president has already signed 73 executive orders. That is more than double the number signed by Joe Biden and more than quadruple the number signed by Barack Obama over the same period.
Thank you all for joining today our 1-month celebration of the most historic opening to a presidency in American history. He has ended all DEI across the federal government, terminated all federal workers involved in promulgating these unlawful policies. He has restored merit as the cornerstone of all federal policy.
And if you're a criminal alien terrorizing Americans or an NGO that's been profiting off our open borders, your life over the past month suddenly got a lot more challenging. Deportations are sending a strong message of deterrence. And Biden streamlined 15 million illegals, remember, into the country, paroled millions more. So Trump, look, has his work cut out for him. But day by day, they're making a lot of progress. And much more is being planned, including legal action against mayors who insist on protecting criminal illegals. So don't interfere with baby.
I'm happy the numbers are up. I'm happy with the results so far. I am not satisfied. I will not be satisfied till every gang member, every illegal alien gang member, every illegal alien public safety threat and national security threat is eradicated from this country.
More on this coming up later in the show, but seriously, you just gotta love the media reaction to the last month. Trump has reshaped everything from the workings of America's federal government to its relations with allies and foes overseas. From its approach to war and peace to its stances on trade and foreign aid, he shows no sign of slowing down. And Axios says Trump's exceeding the wildest dreams of his supporters and the darkest nightmares of his detractors, conceding that Trump is historically popular. Of course, what actually has their heads spinning is the return of basic accountability to D.C. Because for decades, progressives have benefited from wasteful federal grants that fund radical agendas on race, on gender, and open borders. But those days, they're over.
We've got this truly absurd, a do not pay list, which can take up to a year for an organization to get on a do not pay list. We're talking about terrorist organizations, we're talking about known fraudsters, known aspects of waste, known things that do not match any congressional appropriation.
This is why they hate Elon Musk. The gravy train is coming to a screeching halt.
He has undertaken a historic cost-cutting effort across the federal government, uncovering corruption on a scale that we never thought imaginable, and already saving $50 billion in a single year, which over a 10-year period would be $500 billion. Just think about how vast and enormous that sum is.
You know the song, Who Let the Dogs Out? Well, every day, liberals have been running to court to keep the Doge out and the illegals in. But the results of their lawfare have been mixed. Nevertheless, Democrats are slowly getting back on their feet, but are they really convincing anyone?
I want to talk to you about the Epstein case. I have worked on this for years, trying to get those records of who flew on Epstein's plane and who helped him build this international human trafficking ring. Now, earlier I urged then Chairman Durbin to subpoena those records, and I ended up being blocked by Senator Durbin and Christopher Wray. They stonewalled on this, and I know that breaking up these trafficking rings is important to President Trump. So will you work with me on this issue so we know who worked with Jeffrey Epstein in building these trafficking rings?
Absolutely, Senator. Child trafficking has no place in the United States of America, and I will do everything, if confirmed as FBI director, to make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened in the past.
I'm telling you, there could be some national security problems here. Because, ladies and gentlemen, nobody knows how much material people have on Jeffrey Epstein. Who was videoed where those videos are.
Pam Bondi asked about the Epstein files. She said, the Epstein files are on my desk. I remember asking Donald Trump about this back in the summertime. I asked him if he was going to release all of these files. Do we have that video, guys? Americans have lost a lot of trust in institutions, and I think there's been a lot of discussion, especially online and especially with young people. How do we rebuild that trust in institutions? The CIA, the FBI, all those institutions.
You're right.
Some people think that one way to build trust is to declassify things that everyone's talking about. I know you talked earlier about, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. So if you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these, would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there because that was a weird situation and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera. But I'd go a long way toward that one.
Great questions.
Yeah, it's tough.
You press them, and now we've got Attorney General Pam Bondi talking yesterday about what she plans to do with these files now sitting on her desk. Here's what she says.
This is something Donald Trump has talked about. The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
That I think you spurned that to happen, and now Pam Bondi's being pretty specific that she's reviewing it, so that's not clear that we're getting all of it. But it's not just Epstein; it's Epstein,
we get all of it.
MLK, JFK, and all of these things.
Look, the Epstein stuff is serious stuff.
It is.
We're talking about children. We're talking about abuse.
Absolutely. And remember, we're talking about a number of different potential crime scenes and videos that have been collected. One of the big differences, I think, now compared to the past 4 years is now there seems to be a real aggressive action toward transparency, as we've been talking about all morning long. I do want to know where those tapes went. I do want to know what happened out in New Mexico. I would like to know, are there other women and children who've been impacted, for example, by this Epstein, not just by Jeffrey Epstein himself, but also by Ghislaine Maxwell and by others who may or may not have been party to these circumstances on the east side of New York. So I think transparency, sunlight, what they say is the best disinfectant.
It's the best disinfectant. Let me tell you why I think this is important. I think it's important because we have a generation of young people who have been through the lies of COVID that deeply impacted them, have seen all of these things transpire that we've been talking about, but at very formative ages. And this is their chance to believe that their government is honest again.
Amen.
I think if these are not released in their entirety, and if this promise is not kept, and by the way, I believe President Trump is going to keep this promise, but I think this is about restoring trust for young people in democracy.